Thank you for joining us today for the webinar with Brainwave GRC. My name's Leanne DeBurr, and I work with the marketing team here. And a little bit later on, you're going to hear from my colleague, Damien Besson, who is the product marketing manager here at Brainwave GRC. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit more about user access review, and we're going to show you ways that the Brainwave tool can help you. So let's get started here on the webinar. So the first question I have for all of you is, are you successfully doing user access reviews? And the keyword here is successfully. Are you even doing them at all, user access reviews? I'm sure many of you realize that companies should and must be doing this for several reasons. First of all, a company must demonstrate compliance with regulatory restrictions or guidelines, as well as internal audits that happen over the course of a year within a company. So we should be doing these user access reviews to show that we're doing this. Also, we have to control and monitor user access. We need to be sure when people are leaving the company that we are closing down their permissions and their accesses to data and applications and other internal company resources. Also, we have to make managers accountable for who has access to what. They need to be always looking at their team members and making sure they're not having too much access to data that does not concern them in their daily work life. We also should do these because it will alleviate risks by giving us a complete 360-degree view of user access and permissions. We need to know throughout the company who sees what and what are they actually doing with the data. And the last reason a company should be doing these user access reviews is that it actually reduces costs if you think about it. You can actually eliminate some unused user licenses that you maybe have granted in the past, and if by getting rid of those, you're going to be having a cost savings. So basically, those are some of the main reasons that a company must be doing user access reviews and doing them as successfully as possible. So what's happening today? And what have we heard from our own customers? Well, there's two phases to a user access review. First is the phase at the upper level, I would say the IT security directors, those people, they actually have to be the ones that say, hey, we need to be doing these user access reviews. But the problem is when they start to get organized in this, it seems like such an unwieldy process, very difficult to handle. And these are some of the comments we got back from our customers looking at and doing when they're doing their user access reviews currently. So what do we hear? We hear they have some major pain points that actually cause them to give some pushback to the whole review process. They tell us that the sheer amount of data and the quality of the data is enormous and very difficult to get your hands around and start to even do the review process. Because of that, the distribution and the coordination of the tasks linked to the review process are difficult. So you have a great number of data, you have the quality of the data itself, and then the distribution of all that data to the teams for review. That really is some of their key problems when they're actually attacking a process like this. Because of all that, it's difficult to get the teams motivated. Some of the people actually doing the physical review tell us that the data is too technical. It's complicated. They can't understand it. It's in boxes. It's in charts. It's binary. You have zeros and ones. Some people just don't know what they're looking at. And in addition to all of that, the data is outdated. People haven't kept it up to date. People have left the company. People have changed projects. And so that's even making it more difficult for teams to move forward. So all of that leads to a very common thing that happens, and that is unfinished data reviews. People get frustrated, they stop the project, they go to work on something else, and what happens is the data then remains outdated and doesn't get corrected. And so we're dealing with that issue. Another reason is that the tools that they're using today, they're ineffective. All right, why are they ineffective? First of all, it's very difficult to have a global view of all the accesses. There's so many people in the company, especially from the larger companies, and they don't even have any kind of way to know what are the most sensitive accesses or the sensitive permission levels, who has those, and we should be looking at those and how do we do that. Also, they have limited analytical capabilities. Much of this data is given to them on spreadsheets. Spreadsheets are not easy to use, and sometimes the columns and the rows are very difficult to understand, and we don't know what the information contained in those cells really relates to. The next thing is that also there's really no decision-making guidance. How should we decide about employee number one? What department is he in? What are the parameters or the permissions that that person should have? So we don't have that. It's not easy, and that also leads to the higher level of frustration. And finally, there's very finite reporting and unwieldy dashboards, things that are difficult to look at. It hinders the review process and it hinders the communication process. We just can't get our minds around even moving forward on such a thing. So that's the problem at the IT security level. These are the people organizing and starting the project off. But what happens if you're somebody actually doing the review? So typically the people doing the review would be a business line manager, a departmental manager, someone like that. So now they have the project handed to him from the IT security department. So what happens with them? Well, the frustration level follows right down to their level. What they tell us when we talk to them is they say, this work is tedious at best. There are usually way too many accesses to review. It takes too much time for them to do it. It's repetitive, it's boring. They're looking at boxes and check marks and all kinds of things on Excel spreadsheets. They glaze over. They just say that it's too much data. And in the long run, it takes the focus away from the other priorities that they have during their workday. Remember, these are manager level people. So when they see this project coming, they get very frustrated and they kind of groan about it. They also add that to the frustration by saying that it's very technical. Now, these are business line managers. So when the data is too technical for them, or it comes across as IT speak, it's very difficult for them to get their hands around it. It becomes incomprehensible, and the first thing they want to do is shut down on the project, right? So they also tell us that the amount of data they're looking at, it's impounded by the fact that it's a continual review of unchanged data. They ask us, why do I keep reviewing data for an employee who has been here for 5 years and has never changed his functions? Those permissions should be the same for that employee. And so if there's any way for us to eliminate that role of redoing everything over and over again, it would be less frustrating. But right now with the tools they have, they're looking at everybody every time through the same magnifying glass. And in addition to that, some of that data is even outdated and not up to date. So that's even a higher level of frustration. The tools that they're using today to doing these reviews very often is missing contextual information. For instance, things from the HR department. What is the role of this person? What department do they work in? What access should they have? What data should they be seeing and able to manipulate and touch? All right, sometimes we're missing that information when we're doing these reviews. Also, there are certain interfaces that are very complicated. They're not user-friendly and it's difficult, and that gets very frustrating for the people actually doing the reviews. The access risks are not highlighted. They're not identifiable. Who should I be looking at? Who are the people that have had access in the past to sensitive data? Have we removed that access when the project was over? We don't know. So again, we're looking at every piece of data with the same fine-tooth comb and the same magnifying glass. We just don't have anything highlighted to us that we should be focusing on. We don't have any predictive control or analysis highlighting these risks again. So there's nothing that's telling us, hey, look at these 10 people because they just moved off a project and make sure that their permissions have been corrected. So we don't have anything like that. We're just going through line item by line item, employee by employee, looking at their permissions. And that is long and tedious. And lastly is the review tables are restrictive. We just don't have all the information, or that information is too technical for us to get our minds and our hands around. So what is the solution? Today we have Brainwave GRC, who was born from this frustration that we've had from our customers. We've listened to them and we have come up with a tool that's going to help them do this much more easily. It becomes a painless part of the daily task instead of a frustration, instead of a project that they see coming down and saying, oh my goodness, look, I have to spend my time doing this. No, Brainwave has found a way to get around that. So our tool is easy to use, right? It's very user-friendly. And it gives a lot of time savings. We have had customers tell us they save 5 times the amount of time doing a user access review than they have in the past with their old tools and their old methods and way of doing things. Time savings is money savings. So just add that to the bottom line also. It is automated. It can run in the background. It will actually be doing most of the work for you, where all you have to do is check off boxes. You don't have to dig into the technical analysis of each user access. So everything is automated. You could be working on something else while the tool is working for you on a user access review. It is also going to propose some assistance in decision making. It's going to highlight and put at the top of the list and put in bold or red or what have you. It's going to tell you the accesses that you should be focusing on because of internal changes that may have happened and been put into the system. And lastly, it is going to propose various reporting structures. These could be internal reports for department managers to show their team and what the team has access to. It could go all the way up to the level of internal audits, external audits, or even regulatory compliance. So you're going to be having to receive a report from the tool instead of having to actually put it together yourself. And this is going to be a great time saving, and the frustration level is going to lessen when you have to do these user access reviews. So now we know that we have to do them. We know how to help our teams. We know how to help the IT security department organizers. We know how to help the business line managers. We've taken that into consideration. We've listened to our customers. And now my colleague, Damien Besson, the product marketing manager, is going to walk you through a demo to show how Brainwave GRC can solve your user access review limitations. Damien?
Thank you, Leanne. So I will have two parts in my demonstration. The first part, I will focus on the campaign manager. So it's the person who is organizing the reviews and scheduling the reviews. And the second part will focus on the reviewer interface. It's more like organization manager or technical owners that will review directly the access, the accounts, or any resources. So here I'm connected as Kimberly Pratt, and Kimberly, she is an IT security manager. So she started to configure some review campaigns. So as you can see, she can configure new ones. It could be anything. So you can review some identities, some HR information. So you can ask organization manager, team managers to review the identities in their teams, their job titles, etc., and to specify if there is any changes. But you can also ask directly to application manager, for instance, to review the rights or to review the accounts. So in my example here, I will focus on the rights review per organization manager. So let me show you the configuration page. So here I'm going to configure a new campaign. And for instance, I can say, okay, I want to focus on the front prospecting services because it's the team in my organization with the highest risk. So it's the first one that I need to, risk rank. So it's the first one that I need to check. It's the most risky one. For instance, I can just give a name to my review, give a campaign title, a description, etc., etc. Then I will have to define the frequency. So I can do it like on a yearly basis, or make it on a monthly basis. I can give a duration. So this is the time the reviewer will have to answer to that reviews in days. So 30 days, for instance. I leave 1 month to get some answer. And then I can use additional features that will help me and help also the reviewer to save some time. For instance, the first run consists of reviewing only the changes, incremental review. This is very helpful when you are on a monthly basis, for instance, so that people can review only what has changed between months. So if you have new identities in your perimeter, or if you have new access in your perimeter, you can change them only, so you don't have to check all the lists. You can also base your review on risk only, so you will focus only on the access that have some risk. For instance, if you have some identities who have left the company and who still have access to resources, so you can check them, or it could be other risky situations like the password policies that are not compliant. And you can also use the AI powered features. So we will check this on the second part of the demonstration. This consists of already take a decision with regards to the issues that have been detected by Brainwave already. For instance, Brainwave will automatically detect all the abnormal situations. And based on these evaluations, it will suggest some actions to the reviewer so that the reviewer just has to read them and to validate. You don't have to take a very complicated decision because he has already everything pre-checked. So then I can work on my perimeter and decide to focus on different application. My review, for instance, I can choose Sage or SAP or any applications in the list. I can also, if I focus my review on risks, I can also choose to use all the risky situations that have been detected or only a selection of them. And I can add a welcome message in my review to help people, the reviewer, to perform the review on their side. So once this is done, I can just save it. And I will add it here in my list, and it will be executed on a monthly basis. So as you can see, I have another campaigns that have been launched. The same campaign, but for the financial division. And at any time, I can jump to the status page of this campaign to check the status and see who has worked very well and who has done nothing yet. Okay, so here I can see that I have 5 reviews that have been done already by the different managers. So the manager of the administrative division, of the contract division, payroll service, purchase and service disputes. I've done their reviews, so it's completed. I can download so the compliance reports with all the actions that they have asked during this review. And if I go back, then I can also check the other review, the ongoing reviews. So here I can see that Samantha Schwartz is working on it. I can, if needed, reassign the task, inspect who is a reviewer of this review. I can communicate with him. I can also inspect the content of the review to help him. And I can also send some reminder to all my ongoing unfinished reviews, for instance. You have also some dashboards features that help you to follow up your different reviews. So here in this campaign, I have 8 reviews, and here I have the time spent to do a review. So it's the average time. So this gives me information to improve, in fact, the frequency of my reviews. If I see that it takes 3 days to to perform a review for a manager, I could say, okay, I have maybe a problem. I need to review the way I configure these reviews. Maybe I need to add some micro certification features like focusing on changes, on risks to help him, or etc. You have also the results of the review here. So the number of elements that have been asked for revocation or for update, etc., etc. So you have a full the information on all the activities on your different reviews. Here you get the list, all that have been validated now. So with the status, so if it's okay, or if you need to update them or if you need to revoke them. And finally, you will get information about the review. So we can see that all the finance division have been selected for this review. So it's focused on the financial division. So on all the sub services of this division. And it's a manual one, so it's not scheduled. Okay, so this is the first part. Now the second part, so the reviewer. So I can just go here. So here I'm connecting as Samantha Schwartz. So Samantha Schwartz is the CFO of my company. So she's the manager of the financial division. So when she connects to the Brainwave GRC tool, she can already see all the identities and their access, their permission on their application that they have access to. So here, as you can see, I have 3 applications, SAP, Sage, and Elixir. And so I need to take a decision for each element. So I have 1,000 elements to review, so it could take lots of time, but I have lots of features that will help me. For instance, the risk rank. So I will have the risk rank here that will give me all the identities that are the most risky in the company. So here I have in my organization, I have Manuel Bennett and Philippe Torres, who have the rank 9 and 10. And I can see that the decision has already been taken for these two by the AI features here, so by Brainwave GRC. So and the action chosen by Brainwave GRC was to rework them. So I just have to check why, and so it tells me because these people have left the company and they still have an active account. And when I select an access, for instance, I can get all the details here about the identities who own this account. So she has left a few years ago. And I can check the controls results. So this active account, this account is still active and the owner has left. And I can also see that the user has been used after after the identity has left the company. So here I will have the list of all the controls defects regarding the selections. So it will help me also to take a decision. But I have also some elements that have not been checked already. So I have 1,000 elements. And to work on this, I can group, to save time, I can group the information. So for instance, per applications, if I say, okay, everyone in my company should have access to Elixir, I can just check everyone on approve, or I can do it on permission level or on each identity level. So this helped me, for instance, to check rapidly if these people have the right access to the different application and to validate or ask for revocation. I can also filter. So once it's done, I can say, okay, I want to see only the remaining entries to work on them. Or I can say, okay, for Arthur Farmer, for instance, I don't really know what decision to make, but I know that, for instance, Bradley Champern know if these access are the good ones, so I want to ask him. And you can ask to a third person to help you to answer to your review and to help you complete it. You can also switch to the pivots table. So this is very helpful because this will allow you to group the access per similarities. So here I have all my identities, all the different accounts that they use to access to the information. And here I have all the applications and the permissions. So I can just, by clicking on this, groups automatically per similarities the access. So I can see that, for instance, for these roles in SAP, I have most of the company that have access to it. And I can say, okay, for all these people, these access are okay, so I approve them. And then I can work maybe on what is left. So for instance, all these access which are very isolated. So this means that I have only this identity or few identities that have access to this permission. And so I can check and take a decision for it. So say, okay, it's not normal, or I approve the access of this permission for all, etc., etc. You have on the right contextual information. So depending on what you are selected, so if you select the account, the identity, or a permission, you will have all the information related to the selected resource. So here I have selected the framework permission in SAP. So I can check who can access to it. I can check from which organizations they belong. So I have mainly contractors that are using this permission. I can also filter per job title. So maybe mainly I have contract lawyer, financial controller, But I have also more technical people, identities that have access to it, like IT consultants. And I can get also the information about the application. So you have all the contextual information about the resources that can help you to take a decision. Okay, so then if I go back to the list mode, so I have only 600 access entries to reviews. So I can focus my review on applications. So on user, on the user access to Elixir, for instance, maybe for me it's normal that everyone should have this access in my organization. So I can just choose it and validate it and work like this on a permission level to save time in my review. So once it is done, so I can just validate it directly. And when Kimberly Pratt, so I think it's here, will reconnect, so I kind of refresh. Okay, you can see that the amount has increased. So I have only 25% left to review. So Samantha has completed his review, but as you have seen, she didn't complete it everything. So she has some elements which are just pending. So that's it. So I can follow up also. Just let's finish with this. As you can see, the evolution of my reviews at any time, and I can communicate and share these dashboards with other people in the companies. So finally, once the reviews are done, what can we do? So we can then also automate remediation. For instance, I can automatically interface Brainwave with some ITSM tool like ServiceNow or IAM tools to automatically send and open tickets with the remediations to perform. And I can follow up this remediation status. So I can have here all the actions that have been requested by the reviewers. I can check what is in progress, what has been done, if the status has been closed. And also I can focus on discrepancies. Discrepancies mean that if the tickets have been closed in the different systems, so normally the action should have been performed. But when I look at the real access using Brainwave GRC, I see maybe that the access are still there. They have not been revoked. So I will see this here. So this will help me to make sure that the action is done by the different stakeholders. Okay, so this ends the demonstration. Yeah. Thank you.
No, I wanted to say, yeah, Damien, I'll check. And what I'm going to do is, first of all, I wanted to say thank you for that demo, because you can really see that it is very, very user friendly. It's very quick, and it's a definite time savings with all of the different checkboxes and all of the different automated suggestions, right, that are given to you by the tool itself. So that was really impressive. I thank you for that. So we have a few minutes here where I just wanted to double check because we have asked for questions. So Damien, would you be willing if I take a look here to see if there are any questions to help us with some of those answers?
Yes, I think we can.
We have okay, so I have, let me see what we got here. Okay, so here's one that I think is kind of interesting. It says, how does Brainwave gather the information to be reviewed? So I guess what we see in the dashboards, how does Brainwave get that information?
Okay, so what you need to keep in mind is that Brainwave is an agnostic tool. You will get all the information from any application and any HR sources. So you can just ingest them with Brainwave GRC, import data from in-house applications and also from market applications. And in fact, there are 3 ways to import data. The first one is that you provide the extraction because you have an in-house application. So you provide the extraction of the information, and we configure Brainwave to consolidate it into what we call the identity ledger, which is the Brainwave GRC database. The second solution is an application from the market. So it's a well-known application. So we provide you the extraction scripts so that you can extract and schedule the extraction automatically of your different applications. And the third solution is a connected, I would say, solution, is that we will interface directly Brainwave with your solution. For instance, it could be AD Active Directory, or it could be Azure, or Office 365, or CyberArk, etc. So we can connect to this application directly using API to extract automatically the information just before the data upload into the Brainwave GRC database. So most of our customers use these three ways to import data. And we have some customers that today are performing reviews on more than 350,000 identities and more than 10,000 servers. So
That's impressive.
Yeah.
So, okay, so basically the key thing here, Damien, I think to answer this question was basically to say that the Brainwave tool is agnostic. So basically we have the tools and the ways to extract the data from anybody's computer system, whether it's in-house or it's an internal application, to be able to use right in our Brainwave GRC tool. Did I understand that correctly?
Exactly, and it could be a cloud application also, or on-premise, or anything.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right. So, and let's just say one of the other questions is actually pretty timely. It follows right along. It's asking us, how much time does it take then to, if I decide to go with Brainwave and a tool like this, how much time would take me to implement this at my company?
So I have an example of a bank for which it took around 4 weeks for around 15,000 identities and around 5 critical applications. So they started to work on 5 critical applications, and after that they have chosen to increase the perimeter to new critical applications and resources. But it took almost 4 weeks to schedule the first review campaign.
Wow, that's impressive. That's very impressive. Okay, so that's great. So here's the last question that I have. Hold on, to make sure I have it here. All right. So, oh yeah, with the corrective action, so you mentioned that there are suggestions for corrective actions that would need to be taken once a review has performed and has given you the results. What is the way that we actually get that done in our system? I think you mentioned that there is a way for us to do these remediations and check on them and make sure that they're being handled. Is that correct?
Exactly. So this was the end of my demonstration. In fact, the idea is that you can interface Brainwave. So you have 3 modes. The first one is to do it manually. So you will directly, once the review campaign is closed, is finished, you can directly automatically send emails to the resource owners to ask them to apply the actions asked by the reviewers. The second mode is to use an ITSM tool. If you use, for instance, ServiceNow or another tool, we can interface and open automatically the tickets in this tool and follow up these tickets to check that once these tickets are closed, the action has been really performed on the targeted systems. And the third mode is that we interface directly Brainwave with IAM tool, Identity and Access Management tools, to automatically perform the remediation.
Okay, very good. So that explains that. So basically it's automated again, except for the manual part, but still you're going to be proposing something, right? You're going to be making a proposal of these corrective actions. Perfect. So if there are no other questions, we'll wait maybe another 30 seconds to see if there are any other questions. Otherwise, we thank you for attending this webinar with us on user access review. And please do not hesitate to give us a call or reach out to us via the website if you have any additional questions that we can help you with. So thank you very much for your attendance. Thank you, Damien, for all of your help in your demo.
Thank you, Leanne. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.